On behalf of the Laundry Cares Foundation, Too Small to Fail, and Libraries Without Borders, thank you for participating in this training designed to help you promote children's literacy development in laundromats. As you know, the journey towards becoming a strong reader and writer begins the moment children are born, through the daily conversations, songs, stories, and books parents and other caregivers share with them. Many parents may not realize how important it is to talk, read, sing, write, and play with their young children, and the power they have to boost their children's early brain and language development. A simple conversation with a trusted messenger, like yourself, can make all the difference in raising parents' awareness and providing them with the information and resources they need to help get their children ready for success in school and in life. The laundromat is a place with tremendous opportunities to engage parents and children in underserved communities. Families spend an average of 2.5 hours during each visit to the laundromat per week. There are usually spaces with few or no literacy-rich materials. Our goal is to transform laundromat spaces into colorful, family-friendly areas that encourage meaningful parent-child interactions, like talking, reading, singing, writing, and playing. The 5 practices of early literacy highlighted in Every Child Ready to Read. As a librarian, you play a critical role in modeling these activities for parents so that they can engage in these types of interactions with their children at the laundromat, at home, and wherever they go. We would especially like to thank the 2 organizations that have co-authored the Laundry and Literacy Outreach Guide for Librarians, the Chicago Public Library and Too Small to Fail. In this guide, you'll find more information about many of the topics discussed in this webinar. Our training today will aim to meet 4 key goals. 1, provide background information on the Laundry Literacy Coalition and the organizations that have launched this effort. 2, prepare librarians for engaging children and families in a laundromat environment and knowing what to expect. 3, share research tools and age-appropriate resources to help you support children's early literacy development through laundromats. And 4, offer concrete strategies to help parents best support their children's early brain and language development. If you have any questions after the webinar, we'll provide contact information for you to reach out for support and additional resource at any time. So let's get started. We'd like to share some background on the group that launched this effort, the Laundry and Literacy Coalition, which is a group of 3 national nonprofit organizations: the Laundry Cares Foundation, the Clinton Foundation's Too Small to Fail initiative, and Libraries Without Borders. The coalition is building an extensive network of local and national nonprofits, foundations, academics, and businesses to promote and scale effective strategies and advance new research to support children's early literacy development through laundromats. In March of 2018, we convened our country's first ever Laundry Literacy Summit with participants from a variety of companies and organizations, including the American Library Association, Public Library Association, Scholastic, Lakeshore, Kiwanis International, Barbara Bush Foundation, the Library of Congress, as well as local affiliates, such as children's librarians from the Detroit Public Library and Chicago Public Library. Our task was to develop a strategy that would consolidate our shared efforts so that any local organization or laundromat owner can transform a laundromat into fun, family-friendly areas that encourage meaningful parent-child interactions like talking, reading, singing, writing, and playing. Since then, we've created a series of standardized tools and a set of best practices for library systems and nonprofits across the country, including a laundry and literacy kit filled with high-quality furniture, books, toys, signage, and other materials designed to create playful, literacy-rich spaces in laundromats. We'll begin with Jane Park Wu, Deputy Director of Too Small to Fail.
Thank you. Too Small to Fail, the early childhood initiative of the Clinton Foundation, is leading a public awareness and action campaign to promote the importance of early brain and language development and to empower parents with tools to talk, read, and sing with their young children from birth. Today, almost 60% of children in the United States start kindergarten unprepared, lagging behind their peers in critical language and reading skills. Through partnerships with pediatricians, hospitals, faith-based leaders, community-based organizations, businesses, entertainment industry leaders, and others, Too Small to Fail is meeting parents where they are to help them prepare their children for success in school and beyond. So whether at the pediatrician's office, the playground, or the laundromat, Too Small to Fail aims to make small moments big by creating opportunities for meaningful interactions anytime, anywhere. Too Small to Fail is thrilled to partner with the Laundry Cares Foundation's Libraries Without Borders and local librarians on this exciting effort to promote children's literacy development through laundromats across the country.
Thank you, Jane. Now I'd like to introduce Adam Eckelman, the Director of Programs at Libraries Without Borders.
So Libraries Without Borders is an education nonprofit committed to expanding access to information for underserved communities and families. By meeting people where they are and addressing the issues most relevant to their lives, our programs enable communities to gain the crucial skills they seek. In the U.S., Libraries Without Borders partners with libraries, schools, tutoring programs, and local nonprofits to transform laundromats, housing lobbies, parks, and a variety of public spaces into avenues for learning, from legal education on issues of affordable housing to early childhood education and parent engagement. Internationally, our programs focus on the Ideas Box, a pop-up library and media center that we've set up in more than 30 countries. Wherever we work, we provide local leaders with the tools and training to promote the spread of relevant and reliable information throughout their community. Together with public library systems across the country, Libraries Without Borders created the Wash and Learn initiative in 2016 to make digital tools and information available at the laundromat.
Thanks, Adam. Now I'm pleased to share this video greeting from Brian Wallace, President and CEO of the Coin Laundry Association and Executive Director of the Laundry Cares Foundation, who will share a few words about our partnership and their strong commitment to promote literacy through the coin laundry industry.
Hi, I'm Brian Wallace. I serve as Executive Director of the Laundry Cares Foundation, and I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to what Laundry Cares is all about and what we're trying to get accomplished here today. So our day job is that of the Coin Laundry Association, which is the national trade association for the nearly 30,000 laundromats around the United States. Some years ago, a number of us in the industry decided to get together and figure out the best way for us to give back to the communities that have always supported our industry over the years. These communities often being lower income neighborhoods, neighborhoods needing additional resources. So we ended up feeling that we had both an obligation and an opportunity to connect laundromat customers and their families with the resources that could offer them the most help and assistance. Of course, that brought out any number of options or different ways that we could help. But in our first phase here, we're really focusing on early childhood development, literacy, reading, making books available, and really focusing our efforts in that particular space. And as we've been piloting a number of ideas, particularly over the last couple of years, we've found that there's really been a great interest and a great amount of connection that happens when we can put books and trained professionals like yourselves in front of those kids and families. So in the combination of free laundry days, which we sort of do as community hugs, where we do free laundry, soap, food, books, and interactions with literacy volunteers, we decided that it was time to really get a sense of a more professional and academic evaluation of our work, to really sort of prove to ourselves that this concept really has merit, and better yet, how do we refine our approach going forward? So that's where you all come in, and I really appreciate that you're volunteering as part of our laundry literacy program here in New York City, because particularly this phase 2 of the evaluation process is really going to help us learn more about how to make these learning spaces in laundromats more impactful for more kids in more different ways. I really appreciate your attentiveness and your willingness to help us with this project. I hope you'll find it as rewarding as we found it to be in recent years. And just know that you're part of a movement, really, to really repurpose these laundromat spaces that are in each and every neighborhood and make more impactful for kids and their families, particularly when it comes to reading and literacy. Thanks again. Enjoy your training and enjoy the project, and we can't thank you enough.
Great. Thanks to Brian for that. We're so grateful for the support of the Coin Laundry Association and the Laundry Cares Foundation for our work. Now we'd like to turn it over to Dr. Susan Newman, NYU Professor of Education and Childhood Literacy. We have been working with Dr. Newman to conduct a two-part pilot evaluation of literacy promotion efforts in laundromats. We will share the findings from Tier 1 of our study and tell you a little bit more about our plans for the upcoming Tier 2 evaluation involving librarians.
Thank you so much. First, let me define what we mean by Tier 1. One of the things that we wanted to try and do is understand whether small changes in laundromats could really enhance children's reading and writing activity. In other words, could we change some of the ecological settings of these laundromats to see if we could promote greater literacy development? And so, as you'll see in some pictures, what was created were literacy-related play centers where children could go and just pop in and play with literacy-related objects, whether it be books or blocks or magnetic letters, all related to literacy. And one of the questions we asked is, did these centers actually promote the kinds of activities that we know are essential for children in the early years? And secondly, were parents more willing or able to engage in talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing in these laundromats compared to control sites? And in what ways did these centers influence the development of what we call literacy culture, knowing that a literacy culture in a community is more than just parent involvement, but it's actually creating a press among people to do literacy-related activities. And then finally, what causal claim could we make as a result of this pilot study? And what we mean by causal claim is what could we say actually causes change in early literacy activities. Next slide. So we had 3 treatment sites and 3 control sites, which enable us to make some causal claims. In 3 of these treatment sites, in 3 different areas of New York, we had a literacy-enriched play center. You'll see little chairs and tables, a couch, books, puppets, crayons and coloring pages, as well as plain pages so children can learn to write, and magnetic letters. And what we had in the control sites was no environmental changes at all. And we had 3 waves of data analysis. We asked, could just these changes in this environment actually cause changes in children's and parent behavior? And to do so, we had 3 waves of data collection. 1, we looked at what were frozen time checks. In other words, could we examine and determine what normally happens in the laundromat under these new conditions compared to control sites? Secondly, we invited parents to talk about their experience and provide questionnaires. And third, what we did is a title recognition test. In other words, were children more able to recognize certain titles in that book area as a result of the play and just the free play and activity in that center. Next slide. And so this is the before. You'll see this is a typical, it's very clean, well managed, but not much literacy going on. And then you'll see after a very lively environment that was very age appropriate and developmentally appropriate with lots of activities and options. Notice also the signage that you'll see. I don't know if we have a close-up of that, but It not only talked about talking, singing, writing, but it offered activities for parents and children to engage in literacy activities. Next slide. And so what we found is a very dramatic change, that these small changes in the environment could actually promote literacy-related activity. And this is a very exciting finding. Basically, if you have books there, if you have puzzles and wonderful things for children to play with, the children will use them. Look at the difference between the treatment and control group. This is very significant. And what we could say is that we have a causal claim here. The literacy-related play center actually caused school readiness activities. Next. And when we looked at what they were doing, this is quite interesting. We saw a great deal of time independent child play. In other words, children would go into the center and play on their own. There was a great deal of child-to-child interaction. Children made new friends. I don't want to underestimate this. It really created a literacy culture where children who did not know each other would actually play together over literacy-related activity. There was parent-prompted play activity where parents actually started the activity, as well as child-prompted parent-child interaction. And then there was often parent supervisory role. This was very interesting, where the parent would supervise the child activity, but not really engage in the activity itself. And altogether, this began to build a literacy culture. I don't know if you have pictures there, but we actually saw the children's drawing on the walls, saying that they were talking to one another and engaging in one another. So it was a very successful pilot. Next. What we noticed is something very important, that many of the children in these low-income areas did not have books in the home. And this is a strong predictor of children's achievement and school readiness. What we notice and what parents would say is sometimes this was the only place the child would find books, in the laundromat. Almost 60%, or two-thirds, almost two-thirds of our population said they had fewer than 20 books in the home. Next slide. And so what were our key findings? That the literacy-related areas significantly promoted children's early literacy activities. Children were more likely to engage in these very purposeful kinds of activities. In other words, they weren't running around, they weren't trying to find something to do. They were very involved in these centers. But what we also noticed in some additional research is that parents were often hesitant to actually engage with their children. One of the reasons is they're often involved in, some of the laundromat kind of activity. But another reason was really because some of them do not know age-appropriate kinds of activities to do with their child. In fact, one of the parents actually said, a child should be able to read on their own. He's 6 years old. Not knowing that reading to your children at 6 years old is highly appropriate. And then finally, the customers, they loved the literacy-related play centers. They really appreciated it. Some said they would come back again and again, that they chose that particular laundromat because of the literacy-related center. So we had a very, very supportive literacy community as a result of this, as well as very positive results. Next slide. But one of the things we recognize, as I began to mention, is that parents did not often know how to model and demonstrate with their children literacy activities. Some think they have to wait. Some think that the teacher should do this. And so we recognize that having appropriate models of literacy activity might actually promote even greater and higher level parent-child conversation, conversational turns, even conversational turns among child to child. So we know that librarians are our most trusted leaders in our community. We can't say enough about all the outreach and the natural outreach they do. And we wanted to ask, do librarians actually make a difference in children's literacy activities? based on Every Child Ready to Read and some of the wonderful things that we noticed, some of the asides that librarians do with their with children and with parents can actually promote that kind of less supervisory and more interactive kind of involvement with children. We want to know, how do weekly visits from a librarian affect attendance in the laundromat? We want also to know how the librarian might bring out the sign and signage and make that signage more alive for the parents. We want parents to do more talking, singing, reading, writing, playing with their children and have greater recognition of the importance of that. And then also, of course, we want these children to see that the library is the gift that always keeps on giving, and develop a library habit as a result. And finally, we want to ask, do they become more sensitive and more exposed to print as a result of marrying librarians in laundromat activities? So with that, that will be our Tier 2 analysis, and we're looking forward to working with this wonderful group. Thank you.
Dr. Newman, thank you so much for sharing the findings from the pilot evaluation with us, talking with us about what the goals are for the Tier 2 study. Now we'd like to dive into the important roles that librarians play in this effort and to provide specific guidance on how librarians can really make the most of laundromat settings to help promote children's literacy development as part of our Tier 2 evaluation. For this portion of the webinar, I'd like to introduce Becca Riedel, who is the STEAM Early Learning Manager for the Chicago Public Library. Becca has been leading STEAM-based literacy outreach efforts in laundromats in Chicago, and we're thrilled to have her here today to share her knowledge and guidance on how librarians can lead storytime and meaningful, literacy-rich activities that the whole family can benefit from.
Thank you for having me here today. Hi, thanks for having me here today. It's been a pleasure working with the Laundry Cares Foundation, Too Small to Fail, and Libraries Without Borders on this exciting effort. I'd like to begin by sharing that all of the key points, messages, and activities I'll be sharing on this webinar are based on information included in the Laundromat Outreach Guide for Librarians. Please refer to this helpful resource for more details, storytime plans, and activity ideas. Next slide. So programming at a laundromat is not very different from programming at a library. The basics of the actual program are similar. The main differences lie in organizing the program in a laundromat setting and gathering an audience. There are many libraries currently leading community outreach efforts in laundromats. For example, we at the Chicago Public Library have been working with local laundromat owners interested in having librarians come and facilitate STEAM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, Math, programming for children. Librarians in other communities are visiting laundromats to share information about local library services like storytime events and sign families up for library cards. When working with laundromats, it's very important to develop a good relationship with the laundromat owner and staff members. They can be instrumental in promoting your program because working with them as a team can make your efforts more successful. For example, laundromat owners may invest additional resources beyond space if they understand and believe in the impact of your work. Try to get to know each of them on a first-name basis and regularly acknowledge how their commitment is making a difference in the lives of children and families within the community. Ask for their feedback often and take time to listen to any thoughts, ideas, or concerns they may have. You know your community best, so pick and choose the strategies, activities, and resources you think would be the best fit to complement your existing efforts and serve the specific needs of your local community. And if possible, try to schedule all your programs for the same day and time each week with the same staff members. Peak hours are often during the weekends and in the afternoon, though ask laundromat staff since they'll know best. make flyers you can hang up on the laundromat doors and smaller half-page flyers that you can hand out to parents and caregivers. You can use our customizable Storytime flyer in Appendix E of your outreach guide. Remember, building an audience can take time in the beginning, but consistency helps the families since they will know you will be at the laundromat and they may need time to build trust. It can also be helpful to have your work ID on or a cap or shirt that says library so families know who you are and what organization you represent. This also helps give you a sense of legitimacy when approaching children and families. By keeping the same staff members, families come to know familiar faces. In time, many of these laundromat customers may seek out that library staff member at their local branch. Next slide. Here is a list of suggested materials you can use to engage in playful, literacy-rich activities with children and families at the laundromat. They're probably not very different from the items you use for story time at your library. Feel free to customize the tools and resources based on the needs and backgrounds of families living in your community and involve local nonprofits who may have additional resources they can contribute. We encourage you to use inexpensive, everyday items parents may already have in the laundromat or at home as well. For example, model for parents how they can use something as simple as a sock to turn into a puppet, or how they can use any clothing item like a t-shirt to play fun games like peekaboo with their children. While we are on the topic of materials, Jane from Too Small to Fail is going to share information about Too Small to Fail's free Wash Time is Talk Time resources available for you to use.
Thank you, Becca. Too Small to Fail has created a number of colorful and engaging resources for volunteers, librarians, and laundromat owners to use to engage children and families. This here is our Wash Time is Talk Time parent tip sheet available in both English and Spanish. This resource includes simple tips for ways parents can talk, read, sing, and count with their children at the laundromat. Parents can also find ideas on how they can turn things they're already doing, like washing, folding, and drawing clothes, into fun opportunities to help children learn. We also created a series of mini posters that are already printed, laminated, and posted around the laundromats you'll be working in. These signs show photos of parents and children engaging in literacy-rich activities and short tips like playing a sorting game or talking about the bubbles in the washing machines. These signs are a very important part of our laundromat strategy, and we would love for you to incorporate these into your programming each week. You might try leading a walk, talk, and play by walking around the laundromat to find these signs with children and parents. Stop at the sign, point to it, and say to parents, "Let's talk about these ideas together," and model the activity presented on the sign. And very importantly, encourage parents to do these activities with their children whenever they come to the laundromat. So even if you're not there, they're using these signs as reminders on how they can talk, read, sing, and play together at the laundromat or even at home or wherever they go. These are a couple photos of our posters displayed in laundromats. And here are a few tips for displaying them. Post them in high traffic areas where they're easily visible by families. Place the posters at young children's eye level. And finally, try to display them on walls that are uncluttered. The parent tip sheet and all of our posters are available to download for free at talkingisteaching.org/communities/spaces/laundry. So Becca, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jane. Now I'm going to talk about setting up your space. Just like clothes, laundromats come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. You could be working with a small corner of the store or have a large open area to lead your programming. Regardless, ask the laundromat staff if they have a preference on where to set up. They may not have an opinion, but they know the flow of traffic best. This also helps build a positive relationship with staff. If available, Carpet squares or gymnastics mats are quick, portable ways to make an outreach space comfortable and welcoming. Keep in mind, every laundromat is different, so flexibility is key in laundromat outreach. Be aware that furniture may move around the laundromat while other items like books may disappear. Find ways to distinguish between items that are being given away, such as handouts with a sign that says, "Please take," or "free," and things that are meant to stay in the space, such as puppets, blocks, chairs, tables, and other things that are secured to the space. Next slide. Here are some things you might expect as you conduct your programming in a laundromat. Families may come and go multiple times while you are there. Children may get up and leave in the middle of a song or a story. Parents may send their children over to you while they are doing the laundry. Families may come over right as you're at the end of your program. When this happens, start your program over or start a new one. The best thing to do in laundromat outreach programming is to go with the flow. The experience will be more enjoyable for you and the families you work with when you remain calm, relaxed, and flexible. Next slide. Hosting a story time and other literacy activities in the laundromat is a great opportunity to engage young children in early literacy activities, but it's even more important to engage the parents and caregivers. The librarian's role in the laundromat is to model talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing for parents, and to show them how they can engage with their children in literacy-rich activities at the laundromat, at home, or wherever they go. We want to emphasize to parents that they are their child's first teacher, and it is crucial for the community to support them in this role. Librarians are the perfect messengers to spread this message that by talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing with their young children, parents are building their brains for success in school and in life. Here are some tips to engage parents and caregivers at the laundromat, especially those who may be shy or reticent to get involved or participate in your program. Try using subtle gestures to welcome new drop-ins seamlessly into ongoing programs, like with a wave or a quick wink. Walk around the laundromat before you begin, especially if this program is new to the community. Introduce yourself and invite them personally to come to your story time and join in during your activities. Tell them why you are asking certain questions while reading a story. Answer any questions they may have about talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing with their child. Encourage them to choose a book with their child and read it together at the laundromat, or distribute the book and encourage them to practice story time in their own homes. Empower them by complimenting them on ways they are already talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing with their child. Follow the warm handoff approach to bring new families to the literacy program. Next slide. The warm handoff is a brief 2-minute interaction that gives the librarian a moment to talk with the parent, offer the tip sheet, and connect with them. The warm handoff includes an opening prompt, key message, information about the laundromat literacy program, invitation to join the story time. Take a look at the outreach guide for sample warm handoff scripts you can use to communicate with parents and caregivers. The moments right before starting an activity could be a great opportunity for a warm handoff interaction. Next slide. While programming will vary from laundromat to laundromat, we encourage all librarians and volunteers to share the following key messages with families in a positive and reassuring way. Learning begins the moment your children are born. When you talk, sing, and read with your children, you are building their brains and preparing them for success in school and in life. Read with your children every day. It's never too early to read with your baby. Making this a daily routine will help them become strong readers and writers as they get older. Talk, read, and sing with your children in your native language. Talking with your children in your native language benefits all areas of their learning and boosts their brain development. Using your native language will also help you better express your thoughts and feelings to your children. Laundromats are not just for washing clothes. You can talk, sing, read, write, and play here too. Words are all around. Point to them and read them with your children. You can even talk about clothes as you're washing or folding by using words like blue, soft, rough, small, or humongous. Have back and forth conversations about the everyday things you see and do together, like doing laundry. You can also talk together as you ride in the car, go for a walk, or shop for groceries. Make cuddling and reading a part of your bedtime routine. Hold your child close and sing a song together. These small moments are big for your child. And finally, as you hand out the Wash Time is Talk Time parent tip sheet, let them know that this resource is filled with ideas on ways they can have fun talking, reading, singing, writing, and playing with their children every day. Next slide. Here is a sample storytime format. You know your community best, so we encourage you to use your expertise and creativity in tailoring the work you do with families. First, begin by welcoming the children and families to the laundromat and your story time. You can say, "I'm so happy to be here with you." Introduce yourself and where you're coming from. Encourage parents to join you and make sure that they have a place to feel comfortable. Next, you might choose to read an age-appropriate book to your group or lead songs, rhymes, and finger plays. When sharing books, practice book reading skills and engagement techniques. While reading, explain to parents why you are using such techniques and give tips for what they can do when reading at home with their child. Remember the 3 E's when it comes to modeling best practices: explain, example, empower. Next slide. Include plenty of songs and nursery rhymes in your time together at the laundromat. Let parents know that it does not matter if they think they can carry a tune or not. Singing together is a great way to boost children's early brain and language development. Children also enjoy participating in finger play rhymes, which can help build their vocabularies while developing their fine motor skills. You might reinforce this message to parents by saying something like, "Singing with your child is very important, and it doesn't matter if you sing in English or another language." In one scientific study, babies as young as 1 week could distinguish their mother's voice from a group of other female voices. Children love being sung to by their parents, and such singing helps to trigger their speech development. Next slide. When choosing songs, try to choose a mix of tunes that families already know and continue singing later on. Introduce new and engaging songs the families can learn together. Incorporate songs that reflect the culture of the community you are working in. To keep families engaged, sing songs with lyrics you can pair with fun motions like the Itsy Bitsy Spider or head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And always remember to encourage family participation. Ask parents and children if they have a favorite song they like to sing at home. You could even ask these parents or children if they would like to teach the group some of these songs. Next slide. Next, we'd like to review a few sample activities that we have seen work well inside the laundromat setting. Again, you know your community best, so we encourage you to use your expertise and creativity in tailoring the work you do with families. Keep in mind the best practices laid out by the PLA and ALA and Every Child Ready to Read, and remember to facilitate a mix of talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing activities. Feel free to get creative with any activities you choose to lead. This can be as simple as providing a coloring time for families to color together or play I Spy around the laundromat. The goal is to continue promoting talking, reading, singing, writing, and playing opportunities for children and their families. This is also a chance to ask children to choose their own book and read it with their own families. Here are some specific activities that can work well in a laundromat setting. Coloring time, arts and crafts, building with blocks, I Spy, scavenger hunt, playing with flannel board rhymes, yoga or stretch time, dance party sing-alongs, parent-child reading time. A couple of points to keep in mind as you plan your activities. Make sure you have enough materials for all children who may attend. Choose age-appropriate activities for young children. Remember, you may have a group with vast age differences. Focus on activities for the youngest of children that parents can continue at home, but try to have programming that engages older children as well. You'll also find fun ways to integrate science, technology, engineering, art, and math learning into your programming in the appendix of your outreach guide. Next. When leading story time in a laundromat, it's important to adapt activities for children with special needs, just like you would in a library. For example, if you notice that a child isn't providing verbal responses to your questions, ask her to point to a picture in a book or encourage parents to get involved by asking what they think. You might notice extra noise or movement, and in this case, you could begin talking quietly so the child has to stop to hear you. Also, as you know, all young children need to move. Frequently alternate between sitting and moving. And if you see a child who is anxious or upset, you can give them a soft puppet or stuffed animal to hold. It's also important to let parents know in advance that it's okay if their child gets upset or may need a little break. They can always come back when they are ready. Next slide. Here are some things to keep in mind as you close your storytime activity. Before parents leave, we encourage you to emphasize the importance of continuing the talking, singing, and reading activities at home or wherever they go. Here are a few other tips to wrap up your story time. Hand out the parent tip sheets, provide library card information, inform parents about other library programs, invite parents to the next laundry story time. Remember to provide the date and time. Encourage families to share ideas they may have for the next story time. Are there any specific types of books they would want to read? And finally, take time to answer any questions parents have or listen to feedback they may have. Next slide. And finally, there are many additional resources you can access to support you in the work you do in laundromats. Too Small to Fail has a variety of content, including tip sheets, posters, and other handouts for parents and community providers available at www.talkingisteaching.org/communities. And as you know, the PLA and the ALA has a rich source of information and materials available for librarians.
Thank you so much, Becca, and thanks to all of our other panelists for helping to share information and guidance during this webinar. We hope the session was helpful for you as you plan, develop, and implement your programs in laundromats. Please know that we are here to answer any questions you have, hear your ideas and feedback, and support you in your work. Feel free to contact us at info@laundrycares.org. This concludes our webinar. Thank you again, and we wish you all the best. You are helping to create brighter futures for children and families, and we're grateful to be partnering with each and every one of you. Thank you.